minimalism. Minimalism is 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 minimalism. Is minimalist 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 is minimalism.
When you think about it, there isn't a single person who was born into this world holding some material possession in their hands. Everyone started out a minimalist. Our worth is not the sum of our belongings. Possessions can make us happy only for brief periods. Unnecessary material objects suck up our time, our energy, and our freedom. I think minimalists are starting to realize that. Anyone can imagine the invigorating feeling that comes with decluttering and minimizing, even if there are mountains of things lying around at home right now. It's because we've all been through something like it at one time or another. Think, for example, of going away on a trip. Before you head out, you're probably busy packing at the last minute. You go through your checklist of items to take with you, and although everything looks fine, you can't help feeling that there's something that you forgot. But the clock is ticking, and it's time to go. You give up, get up, lock the door behind you, and start rolling your suitcase along the pavement with a strange sense of freedom. You think then that yes, you can manage to live for a while with this one suitcase. Maybe you've forgotten to bring something along, but hey, you can always get whatever you need wherever you're going. You arrive at your destination and lie down in a freshly made bed, or the tatami mat that happens to be a Japanese style. It feels good. The room is clean and uncluttered. You aren't surrounded by all the things that usually distract you, the stuff that takes up so much of your attention. That's why travel accommodations often feel so comfortable. You set down your bag, and step out for a walk around the neighborhood. You feel light on your feet, like you could keep walking forever. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. You have the freedom to go wherever you want. I have the freedom to go wherever you want. I have the freedom to say when you don't have the usual chores or work responsibilities weighing you down. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time or another. Will chores or work responsibilities weighing you down. This is a minimalist state, and time is on your side, and you don't have the usual chores or work responsibilities weighing you down. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it at one time. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it wondering.
Everything has now been screwed inside a mess. The souvenirs you bought don't fit in your suitcase, so you're also carrying a couple of big paper bags. The admission tickets and receipts from the tourist sites you visited, you're going to sort through those later, right? That's why they're still stuffed in your pockets. You're standing in the security line, and the time has come to pull out your boarding pass. Uh-oh, where have you put it? You start looking everywhere, but you can't seem to find it. You're getting closer to the head of the line, and your frustration mounts. You can sense the icy glares of the other people who are standing in the long line behind you, like your back is being pierced by pins and needles. This is a maximalist state. These stressful situations tend to happen when you're saddled with more objects than you can handle. You aren't able to separate out what's really important. With our desire to have more, we find ourselves spending more and more time and energy to manage and maintain everything we have. We try so hard to do this that the things that were supposed to help us end up ruining us. Tyler Durden said it best in the film Fight Club. The things you own end up owning you. A day in my life before I became a minimalist. Back when I used to have a lot of possessions, a typical day in my life used to go like this. I'd come home from work, haphazardly take off my clothes, and leave them lying around wherever I happened to be. Then I'd take a shower, always noticing the crack in the bathroom sink that needed to be repaired. This is a minimalist state. And this is a minimalist state. This is a minimalist state. And most of us have experienced it one day. minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing. This is a minimalist state, and most of us have experienced it as one thing.
I'd sit in front of the TV to catch up on the shows I'd taped, or maybe watch one of the movies I'd rented, and crack open a can of beer. Wine was my drink of choice for later in the evening, and there were times when I'd finish a bottle too quickly, and I'd have to dash over to the nearby convenience store, already drunk. I once heard a line that went, "Liquor is not happiness, but a temporary respite from unhappiness." That was exactly the case for me. I once heard a line that went, "Liquor is not happiness, but a temporary respite from unhappiness." That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was. Happiness, but a temporary respite from unhappiness. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. I would hit the snooze button on my alarm clock every 10 minutes. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable I was, if only for a brief moment. I'd get up the next morning feeling cranky, reluctant to get out of bed. That was exactly the case for me. I wanted to forget about how miserable for not being able to make good use of them all. Yet no matter how much I accumulated, my attention was still focused on the things I didn't have. I became jealous of other people. Even then, I couldn't throw anything away. And so I was stuck going around and around in a vicious circle of self-loathing. But by getting rid of my things, I finally started to break out of that situation. If you're anything like I was, dissatisfied with your life, insecure, unhappy, try reducing your belongings. You'll start to change. Unhappiness isn't just the result of genetics or past trauma or career trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. The Japanese used to be minimalists. We're all born into this world as minimalists, but we Japanese used to lead minimalist lives as well. Japanese or career trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Career trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of career trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Career trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. I think that some of our unhappiness is simply due to the burden of all our things. Rear trouble. The information at our fingertips is increasing at an astounding rate. I heard somewhere that the amount of information that a person living in Japan receives in a single day is equivalent to what someone who lived during the Edo period received in a year, if not over the course of their entire life. Human beings are like 50,000-year-old pieces of hardware. I've also heard that we humans are like pieces of hardware that haven't changed for 50,000 years. Think about all the changes just since the Edo period 4 centuries ago, and then consider that we're coping with all that with a brain that's 50,000 years old. It isn't as if a company like Apple can come up with a clever innovation and say to us one day, "We've reconsidered the features of human beings and have created a new design. Our brains function 30% faster than the older version, and our memory capacity is doubled. Our height has increased by 3 centimeters, and our weight has decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2. By 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2. Is decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2. Without an upgrade like that. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2 decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing or even notepad, all in one little rectangle. It's also a compass, train timetable, dictionary, thick console, watch, calendar, flashlight, map, or even notepad, all in one little rectangle. It's also a compass, train timetable, dictionary, thick mail order catalog, checkbook, or airline ticket. The first iPhone was introduced in Japan in 2007. I think the invention of the smartphone paved the way for all the minimalists we see around us today. No matter how vigorously a minimalist may throw away their possessions, their smartphone is often one of the last items to go, if it goes at all, because it obviously serves so many different functions. More technology helps us minimize. I mentioned earlier that I've always had an avid interest in photography. I never went anywhere without a compact film camera in my bag, and the negatives and prints I developed took up considerable space in my closet. When I proceeded with my Donchery, my scanner was absolutely indispensable. I scanned all my negatives and prints and then threw them away. I was also able to scan and part with the letters I'd saved since kindergarten, reading cards, and magazines that I just couldn't throw away. My Scan Snap scanner allowed me to say goodbye to an enormous amount of files and pictures, and still make it quick and easy to create data files and call them up on my computer. There are probably a lot of people who listen to music only on their smartphones or iPods. I have a MacBook Air, which can be used to watch movies, listen to music, or read books. Though I no longer own a TV, I can visit the websites for TV networks and purchase archived programs that I like to watch. Email can be checked anywhere with my Gmail account, and I can work wherever I am by storing my files using cloud storage services like Dropbox. Wi-Fi infrastructure and Bluetooth connections have reduced the hassle of carrying around cables, and meetings can be done on Skype. We live in a wonderful world now, where we can work without a physical office at all. The spread of a sharing culture. Minimalist technology has expanded to include services as well. I live in Tokyo, where traffic is always a nightmare, and the public transportation system is very reliable, so there's really no need to own a car. Car grease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 2 kilograms. 55 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing iHuman 2, decreased by 1. Discard the preconception that you can't discard your things. There's no such thing as a person whose nature won't allow him or her to discard their things. We only think we're unable to part with our possessions. Learned helplessness is a term used in psychology that can explain what's happening here. Though we have the ability to get rid of things, we've given up trying because we've experienced a number of failures. But we're all able to part with our things. We just need to become aware of the reasons why we've been unable to do this so far. It isn't because of your nature, and therefore you're certainly not to blame. You're simply inexperienced. That's all there is to it. You aren't familiar with the habit of discarding your possessions, and you've gotten used to keeping them. I used to live in a filthy apartment, but now I live in a minimalist space. It wasn't a personality change I went through. I simply learned the techniques and developed a habit of getting rid of excess. 2. Discarding something takes skill. In the same way that you won't wake up one morning and discover that you've suddenly become fluent in French if you've never even studied it, you can't become a master at danshari or decluttering and party overnight. I've thrown away a lot, but it's taken me more than 5 years to do this. It is possible to do it more quickly. The act of discarding things in itself does not take time. Day 1, you throw out the garbage. Day 2 is for selling your books and CDs. Day 3, you sell your electric appliances. Day 4 is for selling large pieces of furniture or taking them to the donation center. A week is actually all the time you need to reduce your possessions, no matter how much you may have. It's not the act itself, but the decision to act that takes time. In the same way that your skills in a foreign language will improve with practice, so will the act of getting rid of things. The more you do it, the less time it will take to decide, and the easier it will be to say goodbye to things. It's actually a skill. 3. When you discard something, you gain more than you lose. Though it may seem like reducing your possessions means you're losing out on something, I think it's best to reset our minds on that point. There are more things to gain from eliminating excess than you might imagine. Time, space, freedom, and energy, for example. I'll get into more detail in Chapter 4, but let me just tell you now that the list of the things you gain is really limitless. You can't help but fixate on something that you're about to throw away because it's right in front of you. And the potential gains from this action aren't visible, so it's hard to be aware of them. But trust me, there is actually more to gain than there is to lose. Rather than thinking about the loss of everything you discard, direct your attention to the things that you'll be gaining. 4. Ask yourself why you can't part with your things. There probably aren't many people who will suddenly decide to reduce the number of possessions that they have and become a minimalist overnight. As I said earlier, the act of discarding things is a skill. It'll be hard at first to place your possessions in a trash bag or put them up for sale. There are still a lot of items that I can't get around to throwing away myself. But it isn't something to be embarrassed about, and there's no need to get rid of everything at once. I think it's important to think about why there are some things that we can't part with. Take a minute to really focus on each item you can't part with and ask yourself why. Is it because it was expensive? Is it because you feel guilty about throwing it away? Are you ashamed that you were never able to make good use of it? Do you feel bad for the person who gave it to you? Does it feel like you're throwing away a fond memory that's attached to it? Is your vanity preventing you from parting with something? Or is it just easier to leave it where it is? Don't worry if you can't discard your possessions all at once. The important thing is to ask yourself why you may be reluctant to part with some of your belongings. You might be surprised by the answers. 5. Minimizing is difficult, but it's not impossible. The Dutch philosopher Baruch de Spinoza observed that when people say something is impossible, they've already decided they don't want to do it. Though we may have a sincere wish to part with all our excess things, our sense of comfort from owning them may be stronger. We shouldn't rationalize this comfort by saying that because some item is full of memories or was given to us by a dear friend, that we simply can't let it go. Yes, such beautiful reasons may certainly exist, but often the key reason is that it would just be a lot of trouble to discard. We tend to prefer the path of least resistance. Discarding something requires effort, and leaving it as is would definitely be the easy choice. But if we keep putting off the work of minimizing, we'll eventually end up surrounded by too much. If you really want to live as a minimalist, you need to make that desire your top priority. 6. There are limits to the capacity of your brain, your energy, and your time. I used to have multiple bank accounts and a lot of bank cards fattening up my wallet. While these were thin cards that didn't take up much physical space, they took up a lot of the memory I had available in my brain. How much did I have left in each account? When should I withdraw the funds in each? What if I lost a card and someone went ahead and used it? Just going to the police and reporting the loss would take up a lot of my time. With our 50,000-year-old brain hardware, we don't have the room to waste time or energy on those little cards, or really on any extra possessions. It's wiser to clean up our system and delete all the unnecessary data so we're free to function efficiently and happily. 7. Discard something right now. Maybe you're thinking that you'll declutter right after you finish the project you're working on right now. Or you might say to yourself that you'll get to it someday after things settle down. But we all know that as long as we're ruled by our dear old possessions, that day will never come. We think we can't become a minimalist until our lives have settled down, but it's actually the other way around. We won't be able to settle down until we're living a minimalist life. All that time we so desperately need is within our grasp, but we have to create it ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing Decrease by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing decreased by 2 kilograms. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Introducing decreased by 2 kilograms. With memorable moments, the past continues to exist in our memories. I don't think it's such a big deal to throw away objects. It isn't as if we're throwing away our past. If we forget a certain memory, then it's probably something that's all right for us to forget. Something unnecessary. All the important memories that we have inside us will naturally remain. It's the memories that we can recall without the aid of objects that are truly important. By getting rid of our extra possessions, we'll start to remember the important things from our past without being distracted by all that excessive memorabilia. 38. Our biggest items trigger chain reactions. Let's say we switched from having one smartphone to 2. We should realize that we haven't just added a single smartphone to our lives. We might get a case for the new smartphone, put a protective sheet of film over it, buy a power charger, covers for the earphone jack, and of course, a strap. Before you know it, we've accumulated 5 new items. Things tend to bring in more things. And if we buy a computer, there is no limit to the extras that we'll probably end up buying. A desk, printer, scanner, USB memory sticks, an external hard drive, word processing software, cleaning tools, and so on. Conversely, we'll be able to get rid of a lot of items at once if we dispose of the initial source. When I sold my TV, I was also able to dispose of my PS3, the hard drive for recording, and the home theater set that connected it all. All the wires and adapters, including their power plugs, also went. If we work up the courage to get rid of our biggest possessions, there's a big payoff. 39. Our homes aren't museums. They don't need collections. There are people who have outstanding collections worth preserving. A couple of examples are Shigeru Kashima, a researcher of literature and collector of expensive old books from France, and Shin Sofue, a designer who collects Soseki Natsuma's literary masterpiece Bochan in various printed editions. The collections that these people have are genuinely priceless and worthy of a museum. Takuro Morinaga, an economist who is known for his penchant for toy cars, appears to have actually created a museum for his collection. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. When it comes to But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, our collections aren't priceless, and they take up a lot of home space. The things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere. But for most of us, they take up a lot of home space. Things that are truly valuable are bound to be professionally collected and probably stored by someone somewhere.
High school yearbook. I couldn't help thinking that she really needed to do burning. Weirdo, that's throwing things away. Probably something like that. But after a while, since most of us usually have books, the remaining simple part with an item that harder to the aspects to have, it wasn't the need for a replacement at all. A desire to hold on to things can also be seen as a desire to avoid trouble or someone else hurt things. And all this does is shut you off from the world. And if you suddenly have a desperate urge to see your own yearbook, all you have to do is contact one of your old friends and ask them to let you see it. They might feel like you're bothering them. In reality, they'll probably welcome the chance to spend some time together reminiscing. And even if it's with a couple of children for nostalgia, that's worth having. It's really true. As long as you remember to express your feelings of gratitude, you're going to be a person centered. Anything, the relationship truly deep. What do you want? Rent? What can we rent? These days, an amazing array of items can be rented online. If you visit something only once a year, and that can work out, you just rent it. A lot of them can be out during the time of year when schools have a field days. Think of all those parents scrambling for the right things to get the best shots of their kids in accident. If you don't often take kids abroad, you might be wise to rent your suitcase so you don't have to think about it tucked away.
Instead of becoming happy. Letting go of what happiness should be. Society has embraced a few standard examples of happiness that suggest the ways that we should live our lives. Get a stable job, get married, start a family, have 2 or 3 kids, enjoy your grandchildren. That's widely accepted as a happy life, and most of us, at one point or another, believe we'll be happy as long as we're able to achieve those things. Positive psychology, a branch of psychology aimed at studying satisfaction and fulfillment, reveals a completely different model for happiness. Psychologist Sonia Lubomírsky says that 50% of our happiness is genetically determined, 10% by life circumstances and situations, and the remaining 40% by our daily actions. Life circumstances and situations includes various factors, such as where we live, whether we're rich or poor, healthy or ill, married or divorced, and so forth. This is surprising. I'd guess that many people might think happiness would be more like 90% life circumstances and situations, and maybe around 10% genetics. They might believe anyone who wins the lottery today would live happily ever after. Or maybe just as many people feel that 90% of happiness is determined genetically and 10% comprises their circumstances. In this case, if you're incredibly gorgeous, you'd be able to achieve happiness quite easily. Genetics determines 50% of our happiness. Based on studies conducted on identical twins raised in different environments, there seem to be unique standards of happiness that people have that support the concept that genetics determines 50% of our happiness. This doesn't mean that our appearance, intelligence, or coordination determine our happiness. It means that, like our natural body weight, we all have a certain level that our happiness settles at, regardless of the wonderful or the tragic events that happen to us. 50% of our happiness is based on this natural level. From a very early age, we all develop different personalities. For example, some kids are simply quick to smile from the outset. They're just born that way. They're not trying to force it to become happy. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. They're not trying to force it to become happy. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. They always brighten the mood around them. Without question, people like that really do exist. But we're not doomed if we're not one of those people. Remember, genetics accounts for only 50% of our happiness. The environment determines one of those people. Remember, these genetics account grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. That they always do exist. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. Genetics always brighten the mood around % of our happiness. Do exist. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be faced with. Genetics they always do exist. These are the people who grow up always feeling positive no matter what they may be. Genetics environment determines only 10% of our happiness. Our environment is said to influence our happiness by a mere 10%. It's true that our level of happiness improves dramatically if we can secure minimal standards of safety and procure food and a place to sleep. Happiness can be bought with money up to that point. But any improvements in environment after that have little impact on our happiness. Isn't it strange to think that all those standard life goals, our job, income, home, marital status, whether or not we have kids, only play a 10% role in the happiness that we experience? It's because we get used to things. No matter how much or how little money we have, whether we live in a mansion on a tropical island or a cramped one-room shack in the freezing tundra, our environment affects our contentment by only 10%. Various studies have confirmed this phenomenon. When a major Various studies have confirmed this phenomenon. 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 If people feel happy, neurotransmitters will be released from their brain, which can then be measured to assess whether they're happy. But while those substances might be possible to detect during those moments when the measurements are taken, it isn't possible to say whether those results will hold for a long period of time. It is continuous to take those measurements the most lies in the taste. Find that most of their starting joy is fading. We get used to changes, even huge ones. How can someone who wants children, who thinks that kids are always missing from his life, imagine how he will be feeling 3 years after he has a child? We don't become happy. Happiness isn't a reward that you receive for following examples that are set. It doesn't come attached to certain life achievements, and it isn't handed to you on a silver platter. Being happy instead of becoming happy. I think happiness is something that can only be felt, and it's only in the present that you can truly experience it. It's the feeling of delight you feel from moment to moment. A person who is unhappy now can't plan to feel happiness tomorrow, the day after, or a year from now, because once that time comes, it will simply be another now for them to be unhappy. To look at it the other way around, there's nothing extra we need to feel happy in this very moment. It's possible for us to always feel happy. Minimalism maximized the 40% of happiness I get from my actions. If our environment can only affect our happiness by 10%, why spend time accumulating a lot of material possessions? Why not live in a minimalist apartment and free yourself to change your actions, which are 40% of your happiness, by saying goodbye to your things? For me, minimalism was an essential part of my path to happiness. I now live my days feeling greater happiness than I ever have before. I used to be an introvert who didn't smile or talk very much. People used to say they had no idea what I was thinking, as if I were some sort of robot. But that robot was slowly starting to change. Because I don't own very much, I have the luxury of time. I can enjoy the simplicity of my daily life without feeling stressed or overwhelmed. That useless pride has disappeared, and since I'm not self-conscious about appearances, I've been able to take the bold step of writing this book. I have better concentration, and I am finally focusing on the work that I've always wanted to do. I'm more perceptive of the here and now. I don't relive past traumas or worry about my uncertain future. More than anything, though, the biggest change in my behavior since I said goodbye to my things has been the rise of a new sense of everyday gratitude. I am truly moved by my experiences in the present moment. and I find myself walking through life grateful for the friends I have and for those few things I've kept. Minimalism isn't an objective, it's a method. There are many important lessons that I've learned through minimalism. But if you've already learned these lessons and more, you don't need to become a minimalist. Even I have the freedom to start buying more things, as long as I continue to cherish the important lessons minimalism has taught me. Minimal and Ism, the website that I run with Numahata, was named with the idea that by reducing our things to a minimal state, we can discover what's really important to us. While following my minimalist path, I think I've discovered what's most important. It's the people around me. It's not just family and friends, or people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me right now. Includes every person I meet today. It's not just family and friends, or people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me right now. People who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing. People who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every person I meet today. What's important in my life? It's the person who's sitting or standing in front of me. Right, people who are beautiful, talented, or whose opinions match mine. It includes every